Well, Rube, I didn't think we'd be on here talking about a loss, but here we are.
Here we are, and the Eagles are the NFL's only undefeated team for a few hours. It's fun while it lasted. Um, I didn't see this one coming. Uh, Jets were the better team today.
They were. The Eagles certainly didn't play up to their standard. They lose 20-14. They fall to 5-1 on the season. This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. He's Reuben Frank. I'm Dave Zangaro up here at MetLife Stadium. Rube, they had a bad game, just in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the turnovers are going to be one of the biggest storylines coming out of this one. The late interception from Jalen Hurts is about as bad of a turnover as you're ever going to see. And they played down to an inferior opponent and they lost.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of pressure on Jalen. He made some really bad decisions, 4 turnovers. All the main issues that I saw were on the offensive side. I thought the defense really, they held him to 244 yards, 2 for 11 on third down. The one touchdown they gave up, they weren't trying to stop him, and it was a short field. Most of the Jets' points came on short fields, but the offense was a mess. Everything from execution, play calling, I had some issues with. I think they gave up too quickly on running the ball against a team that had given up about 550 rushing yards in its last 4 games. Just because the first couple plays don't go for many yards doesn't mean you just stop doing it and stop trying it. I get that they liked the matchups they had with their receivers against a patchwork secondary, but I didn't like the play calling. I didn't like a lot of the play calling. I didn't like it much of anything on offense. I just thought the Jets kind of took it to the Eagles, the Jets defense and the Eagles offense. I thought they had more energy. I thought they had more fire, more life. I just thought they were I thought the Eagles offense, like, guys were hanging their heads. I didn't like their body language, even early on when they were winning. It just something seemed off offensively. They just didn't have that the energy that we're used to seeing. I thought they were lackluster, and they played like it. It was really disappointing offensive performance.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like early on, I thought they were pretty efficient on offense. We're talking about like in the grand scope of it, but like in the first half, they were scoring. Like they scored on 2 touchdown drives. They had the turnovers, which like obviously killed them, but it felt like they were able to move the football, and then it just all kind of unraveled after that.
Yeah, I think the Jets kind of just gradually got the momentum on that side of the ball, and they just seemed like the more confident unit between the Jets defense and the Eagles offense. They just, I thought in the second half, I thought, the Eagles can't do it. I just don't think they're going to score. And I never feel that way. This offense has so many weapons and so high powered, can do so many things, and they can get yards in so many ways. And I just didn't see it happening. And that's how it turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That interception, but he raised his hand. He said he made the wrong read. You appreciate the accountability. I mean, that was awful. That, the other 2 interceptions, I don't really put on him. I think that'd be unfair to put the other interceptions on him.
First
But
one's really a Goddard fumble. And the
yeah,
second one, he got his arm hit, I
his
think.
arm hit.
Yeah, I think that was Driscoll who whiffed on the block, I believe.
Yeah,
I never saw a replay. But, that last interception that's a pass that you just can't make. A veteran guy. He's a veteran. He's a 4th-year guy. He's got more interceptions this year than last. He only had 4 interceptions last year. He had 3 today. Obviously not all his fault, but that last one, I just don't I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was looking at. He locked in on Goddard and threw into double coverage, and he didn't even set his feet. He just kind of.
Yeah, I think he had a little happy feet from the way that game unfolded. He was under some pressure, but
Sure.
you can't have a lapse like that when the game is on your shoulders. It was brutal. And then even after that, they get the ball back with 146 left. They still had an opportunity. The Jets shouldn't have scored.
Right.
They shouldn't have. So even then, like if this was the normal Eagles offense, you'd say, yeah, you have confidence that they'd figure this out. I didn't have much confidence in them when they got the ball back with 146, which I think tells you about how this game went.
Your lack of confidence was founded. I didn't either. And 4th and 9 again. I just don't. I don't think your best chance to get 9 yards is that play. It's throwing
field. Yeah.
throwing down the field to Devontae in double coverage. Um, yeah, I hated that call too. And I mean, I don't know who the primary, the second, I don't know who his progression was, but it looked like he just locked in on Devontae and he wanted it. I mean, you don't need a chunk play there. You know, you run the offense. You have plenty of time. Like you said, it's 146. You have to go 75 yards, but you have plenty of time to do it. We've seen them do that so many times. To try to get it all at once doesn't make sense. Well, I think they had one timeout left there.
Yeah.
I believe they had one timeout left. It really reminded me, I hate to say this, but it reminded me of, we would see Carson play hero ball like that. Let's try to get it all back in just one big long bomb and try to get it all back. It's a low percentage play. It's not the play that was warranted in that situation. And just, I hated it.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this. Came up post game on the interception. It was 3rd and 9. They're obviously in 4-down mode. Well, they weren't in 4-down mode, but it's 3rd and 9. What would you have done there? Did you like the call on that play? Not the execution. Obviously, the execution was bad.
I mean, I'm not seeing the whole field like you are because I'm watching TV in the studio, so it's hard to really say. I mean,
so at that point, so basically they were at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
There is the thought, like, I don't mind that. Like, me personally, I don't mind them being aggressive, trying to pick up the first down because that's ball game. If you get
Sure.
that first down, obviously
I didn't mind that.
the execution sucked, but
Yeah.
there is the thought process that you keep the clock running, and then you punt the ball and you let your defense, which had been playing pretty well at that point.
There's something to be said for that. I mean, the Jets didn't drive the length of the field the whole game. The longest drive was 51 yards. So I could see, I'd have no problem doing that. I mean, how much time would have been left? I mean, they're not going to drive the field with that kid at quarterback. And look, that kid played fine. He was really good today. He didn't make any mistakes. And I thought the Jets coaches really didn't put him in any positions where he really could make mistakes. They really had a nice game plan for him. Quick, got rid of the ball quick. But I like my chances punting him semi-deep. Who knows with Braden Mann, but punting him somewhat deep and let my defense. I mean, at that point, they were getting great pressure. The Jets weren't running on them. I felt much better with the defense on the field tonight than the offense. So I think that answers the question. I would have been fine with that.
And it feels like they wasted a really good defensive performance amid like a bunch of chaos. Guys were dropping like flies. And then you have these big sacks from, like, right now we should be singing the praises of Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat.
That 12-yard sack was
I mean, they did everything they could to win that game, and the offense let them down. And I know after the game there was talk that like all 3 phases were bad. I thought the defense was fine.
Oh, yeah, defense was totally fine. They gave up 244 yards, 2 for 11 on 3rd down, 1 touchdown that wasn't even that they let score. I had no problem with the defense at all. 5 sacks, 3rd straight game with no takeaways, which is kind of concerning.
Yeah.
-4 obviously isn't on solely on them, but partially on them. But no, I mean, the defense was fine.
Offensively, Lane Johnson goes down early. There are a bunch of injuries in this game. I don't want to speculate, but I mean, this turf is bad. They got to get rid of it. You can't have an NFL team playing on turf that gets guys hurt. There's no way to really know whether or not it was the turf, but fix it. Just fix it.
Yeah. And there's more injuries there than anywhere. And they got to go back up there again late in the season. Which is concerning. I heard Kelsey. Were you at Kelsey?
I was not. No, I was in the Sirianni presser.
Yeah, he played that down. He said the turf's fine. I don't know. He's not really the kind of guy to say that if he doesn't believe it, but it certainly seems like it's an issue. And I mean, once Lane left, it got bad quickly.
Yeah, Lane is one of their most important players. He's one of their best players. We don't have an update on him yet. But man, if he's going to miss any time, that's a big problem. You can get around not having Cam Jurgens. You can maybe get around missing one guy here or there. You can't. The drop off from Lane Johnson to Jack Driscoll might be the biggest delta they have at any starter to backup.
I would say Jalen to Marcus Mariota, but this is probably the wrong day to say that.
Yeah.
Kelsey to, I guess, Dickerson. I don't know. I've never seen Dickerson play center, but yeah, it's up there. And it's
I
not
don't
like
know
they
what's
have.
happened to Jack Driscoll.
Yeah, he was pretty good a couple of years ago. I mean, he had a bad training camp.
He did. I'm starting to wonder. Like it seems like he's regressed, which we've never really seen a player regress under Jeff Stoutland. I don't know what to make of it. Now, maybe if he has to play next week and he gets a full week of practice, I'm sure he'd be better. But that's concerning.
Ready to run LaRaven Clark out there?
No,
he's on the practice squad, I think.
he is. I mean, you have Tyler Steen, a 3rd-round pick.
Has he? He hasn't really played any. I guess you could put Malata.
You could potentially play Mailata at right tackle and Steen. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they trust Jack Driscoll, but he can't play the way he played tonight.
Yeah, and I think with everybody, you get that the week of reps, and we're speculating, about Lane. Certainly didn't look good. Maybe he'll be able to play. He's certainly as tough as anybody out there. But Nick was talking about how I didn't see the film, but we have a lot of trust in Jack Driscoll. I don't know why. And again, it's not like this came out of nowhere. He had a bad training camp, and I don't think I even put him on my 53 coming out of camp. I didn't think they were going to keep him because he was so bad in camp and in the preseason games. Not a lot of great options, but yeah, it's concerning very much because and also now you have 2 backups on the right side of that O-line, and I think Sue has done everything he can do, but now you've really got a piecemeal O-line there.
Yeah, that makes it really tough.
And I'll tell you one other thing along those lines. I do think Jalen needs to deal better than he did today with pressure. And, if you're a quarterback, there's going to be games where you're under a lot of pressure. You have to learn to kind of tailor your game to what's happening. And, sometimes he takes off running out of pressure and he makes some big plays, but he also makes mistakes when he's pressured. And I think he's got to respond better to those situations.
I might honestly disagree, and I'll have to rewatch. I thought he handled it okay. He made some big plays. That there was the play early where he escapes pressure and hits AJ Brown on the dart. He hit Kenny Gainwell on one after escaping, and Gainwell just dropped the pass. It wasn't perfect, but I thought he did okay with that. I thought he made some plays. Yeah, I'll have to go back and rewatch it.
He did make some plays. Yeah.
I had the impression that he was actually playing okay before that late interception. He wasn't playing great, obviously. That's not what I'm saying, but I didn't think he was like the big problem because those other 2 turnovers really weren't on him. He had a few drops in there from the receivers.
Yeah,
he had the deep ball to AJ where AJ stopped running.
That was weird. He slowed down. That was early in the game.
Yeah, I don't. My guess on that was that AJ wasn't really in the progression, but Jalen liked what he saw. And sometimes, to be honest, AJ on those, they call them for the love of the game routes. He doesn't give it his all. Which isn't normally a big problem. I don't know. I'm speculating on that because I don't know what the progression was. But
I just thought the whole offense looked off. And I put Jalen among that.
He deserves plenty, but I'm not saying he doesn't deserve blame. So I'm working on my grades. He's really tricky because, like I said, I didn't think he played all that bad in this game, but that last interception just drags it down so much.
Right. It might be the worst pass he's ever thrown.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It was the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would have been better if the guy pick sixed it. Then you at least save some time.
Right. Yeah, not much. I mean, 4
Yeah.
seconds.
But I'm saying, like, it was the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And I just didn't seem that surprised when it happened. It's just the way that game was going.
Honestly, I thought they were going to drive down the field and win.
Did you really? I didn't. I
Yeah,
usually get
and
that feeling.
I know I probably shouldn't have had confidence in them, but we've seen them run the 4-minute drill so effectively, really throughout the last 2 years. So I know that things have gotten kind of wonky on offense. I know the protection wasn't there, so there were plenty of hints that it wasn't going to work. But I guess
Yeah.
I've just become accustomed, excuse me, to this team in these situations figuring out a way to get it done, and they really just couldn't.
Play calling didn't help. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let me ask you this, because
it's a bad combination. Turnovers, bad play calling. I mean, just injuries. I mean, it's just, and there's still a 6-point game.
Yeah,
they should have won this game by 20 points. Yeah,
they're the better team. They played down to I said it when we opened that they played down to an inferior opponent, and that's got to drive them nuts. AJ Brown after the game said he was like, the loss doesn't bother me as much as us not playing the way we need to play, and I think that's probably fair. And it's just this team finds ways to win. We've seen them do it, and then to play a game like this and to cough it up at the end, really out of character for them.
Yeah, you're right. They deal with adversity really well. I mean, they deal with adversity as far as responding to losses, but also in games. I mean, this year they've blown leads, they've given up leads late in games. They've, blown big early leads. They've had a lot of things. They really haven't played great in very many games.
The Rams game was their best game. Yeah,
that's probably it. And then they still had red zone issues there, and they could have, put it away a lot earlier. But
do you think when the Eagles found out that the Jets were without their top 2 corners, they kind of changed the game plan on the fly?
I know Nick was asked that, and he said no.
But then he did admit that, some things changed when they found out Sauce wasn't there. And I get that, but it wasn't a very balanced attack.
No, and I mean, that's another thing when I talk about play calling. Running backs, I mean, the Jets' last 4 games, they've given up something like, I think I had it on my screen, something like 137, 157, 202, and 125 rushing yards. I mean, they haven't stopped anybody. And the Eagles had 15 running attempts with their backs. And I get that the Jets stopped them early and they didn't get many yards, although Boston had a nice run, one of his 2 runs. Or Gainwell had a 12. Only had 1 other carry. But the running backs had 14 carries. Jalen threw 45 times, was sacked twice, and ran 8 times. So that's 47 is 55 plays that don't involve the running backs running, and 14 that did. And that's wonky. And they're ranked 29th in run defense. And I just don't get it. I'm not saying run every play. I'm not saying don't throw the ball against that defense, but I just thought this was a perfect game to be balanced on offense, be unpredictable, mix in the pass and run, and get at it. Get at it East Rutherford with a 17-point win. And I'm starting to really think maybe Brian Johnson had, gotten past something like this. But, and again, it's hard to know exactly what's Brian and what's Nick, but I think the plays are Brian. The down to down is Brian. And I hated that balance or lack of balance.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, when they went up 14-3, I thought, here it comes. They're about to just pile on and win this game. No problem. They get the ball back after halftime and they just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah. I thought they were going to go up 21-3 and it's going to write my obs and be done early. They don't make it easy. But again, they've kind of hinted at this. They haven't played great against New England, a team that everyone else is blowing out. They won by a couple points, overtime in Washington. And Washington looks like they might be a half decent team. But to take them to go into overtime, give up that late touchdown. The Vikings game was too close for comfort. They're not very good. I'm not saying you have to blow out everybody, but they haven't been playing great. So this isn't an anomaly.
No, it's not. And we gave them credit for winning those games when they didn't play great, which they deserve that credit. Like, so it takes something to win those games. But you're right. I mean, there were these issues that we've been seeing, and even last week they were much better, but they were still the red zone issue. They haven't played a complete game yet.
Yeah. And look, and the injuries are piling up, and it's a big concern. But yeah.
Let's take a break, and then you want to get into the injuries after?
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
Catch all the sports action and more at Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Whether it's the money line or the pass line, there's something for everyone in a great sports book. Rivers Casino Philadelphia. Philly loves a winner. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. So we already talked about Lane Johnson. That's obviously the one that's on the forefront, and that's the one I think you really worry about, but not the only one. Reed Blankenship left with a ribs injury. We saw Eli Ricks come out. I think he did go back in. Milton Williams had an injury. Who am I missing?
Did Roby leave the game for a bit?
Roby left, yes, with a shoulder injury. So, I mean, the secondary
decimated.
I mean, they came into this game really light at safety, and then we had to see Mekhi Garner out there, undrafted cornerback from LSU, is now playing safety in a regular season game. This Sidney Brown hamstring injury has now forced him to miss 3 games.
Yeah, that's a lot. Wonder why they didn't put him on IR. I guess they didn't think it was that serious. But you have a rookie who's not a starter who's going to miss 3 games. You put him on IR if you know that.
Yeah, hamstrings are tricky like that. So
sure.
Without at the risk of speculating, there's a chance that it was healing and then something happened.
Yeah, and I talked to him last Thursday, and he said he was feeling a lot better, and felt like he was almost ready. But so he might have had a setback. But they better get Slay back because 2 pretty good receivers are coming to town next weekend.
Yeah,
and they're going to need to be as close to full strength as possible with that. That offense is fast and explosive, and they put a ton of pressure on your secondary.
They do, and it's a bad timing for the Eagles because they don't have much there right now. By all accounts, it seems like they expect Slay back. We'll see how that goes, but Josh Jobe made some plays, but he's handsy. We always talk about how handsy he is.
They're looking for it now. Yeah,
they're definitely looking for it. He gets called for the DPI. He gets called for defensive holding. I mean, if he's out there against Tyreek Hill, I mean, it's not going to go well.
Yeah, you're right, and we don't know who's going to be in the slot. If we don't know the extent of Roby's injury.
Yeah, that was a shoulder injury. He left and didn't return. They don't. I mean, their options there are. We're back to Mario Goodrich. We're back to Eli Ricks. We're back to maybe Sidney Brown. If he can if he's healthy, maybe Sidney Brown, if he can get back on the field. And then Reed Blankenship, he missed the game already this year with a ribs injury, right?
Yeah, he did.
Now he has another one. He's been kind of the steadying force back there.
Mekhi Garner is the 15th different defensive back they've used this year. And the club record is 17. And we're through 6 games.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, they're going to be.
I give Sean Desai some credit.
Yeah, sure.
I know that's not a good offense, but I mean, they battled. And Garrett Wilson's a great player. He got his. He ended up with
89 yards, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job keeping everything in front of them. They didn't give up any big plays. A couple, in maybe a 33 and a 25, but no. I mean, this is a team that's capable of hitting you with just Breece Hall alone has 3 long runs this year over 40 yards.
Yeah. His long in this game was 9.
They
did a good job against him. 12 for 39, 1 touchdown, a long of 9.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't give up big plays, and there's a lot to like about the defense. When they're at full strength, they're gonna be very, very good. They might need to be if the offense doesn't get its act
I
together.
don't know when the heck they're going to be at full strength.
Well, I
What
mean,
do you do with safety? What if Reed can't play next week?
well, then you go I mean, Justin Evans is out. If Reed's out, you
He's
go,
on IR. Yeah.
yeah, he's not coming back. I guess you you trade for Kayvon Wallace? I mean,
It's not a good situation to be in.
it's not. It's not. And Terrell Ed Terrell Terrell
Terrell.
Edmonds Terrell Edmonds.
Terrell. Yeah, Tio ruined us forever.
Yeah. I was saying on the set on that 8-yard touchdown when the Eagles let him score, I wasn't really sure because I couldn't tell if Edmonds was trying to tackle him or if that he was just whiffing again. He's not very good, is what I'm
Jets
trying to
can't
say.
score there, by the way.
No, that was a big mistake, but they got away with it. They're definitely in some trouble. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what options they have.
Yeah. I mean,
Can
it's funny that we're talking about that. Like the defense did its job. Nick, what'd you make of the linebacker rotation? I talked to Kobe after the game. He said he didn't even know the plan until late in the week. And
really?
he said they told him that there was like a pitch count for him.
Makes sense. He hasn't played in a month.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to tell because, you know, yeah, you just can't see these things on the TV tape or on the TV broadcast.
It
And they
was
don't
a
talk.
lot of mixing. I mean, the
I mean,
personnel was really mixed and matched.
yeah, we saw a lot of Morrow out there, but they don't talk about they don't even don't get me started. But I like the idea of I thought the linebackers were fine. I thought Zach Cunningham made a nice play on the sideline on the third down. Um, Eventually, Nakobe's going to play more. I thought Nakobe played well from what I saw. There's really nobody on defense I have a problem with. I mean, Job with the penalties, but that's just going to be it's going to be his.
He's overmatched.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a limited player, giving everything he has, which just isn't quite enough.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's really going to get a lot better. Maybe he'll get better. Maybe I should give him more credit. I mean, the effort's there. He's certainly got the confidence, but he's just limited.
See a little Rasul in him.
Okay.
Big physical corner, not fast enough. Confident.
So I see Jalen Mills in him. I mean,
There's some
Rasul was
similarities there.
Rasul is a 3, so you better that's a but Rasul. I mean, Rasul's got like 20 career interceptions now, but I see what you're saying. Maybe he could play safety.
I mean, I was wondering if Keely Ringo would get cross trained. What does it say that Mekhi Garner is a guy they cross trained and put at safety and not Keely Ringo?
I mean, he's built more like a safety, I guess. And we've had this guy. I was actually looking for Mekhi this week. I wanted to ask him if he's played any safety reps, if he's gotten any safety reps, because we didn't.
Well, when
see
they
him
elevated him on Saturday, that was a sign to me that Sydney wasn't going to play.
Exactly.
He came in questionable.
Yeah. Well, we didn't see him play safety at all in training camp. But I remember having a conversation with you at practice at training camp that he really looks like a safety, and he's kind of built like a safety. So, but yeah, that was a very tough position. So to do what they did, really not give up any touchdowns. To do what they did, they kept the team in the game for 60 minutes. Can't ask for more than that.
Yeah. The last few weeks we've been singing Michael Clay's praises. The special teams unit has been great. Did not play well today. You had the Jake Elliott 37-yard miss. Obviously very uncharacteristic for him. You had a bad punt from the punter. You had the penalty from Keely Ringo running into the returner. Not good.
Yeah, and Covey really had nowhere to run. What are you going to do about the punter?
He's on the roster now. He had one good punt that got him in to the 6.
7,
then his other
maybe.
punt was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just so inconsistent. And that was Sipas's problem. He'd have a good one, then a really bad one.
Yeah.
I think Sipas is better than this kid.
I don't know.
But
He
just
had two for 81. So the one where he had a chance to boom it, he didn't boom it, and he was able to down the one inside the 10.
yeah, I don't see the
I think for a
consistency.
team like this, like you need a field flipper.
Yeah. Field flipper. I like the way that sounds. Yeah.
How much
It's
of
bad,
a
bad
yeah? Go ahead. I'm
situation.
sorry.
No, it's just I don't like the way he punts. I think he's too inconsistent. I think he's a disaster waiting to happen, honestly.
You might
Maybe
be right.
that might be too strong. But the fact that he's on the 53 shouldn't change anything as far as bringing someone else in. I'd start calling punters.
Honestly, it should influence it the other way, because if
Right,
you bring a new guy in, you can put him on the practice squad and play that game again.
right. And you get a roster spot
Yeah.
for whoever's going to start at safety Sunday.
Might be me at this rate.
I'm trying to think who was in training camp that they cut. There really isn't anyone.
I mean, they had Josiah Scott. Is he somewhere?
I don't think he's in the league. I would take him. Let me see. He might
It's
be on a
not good if we're looking up if Josiah Scott's on a roster.
he might be their best option. Josiah Scott.
They might need the trade for a defensive back.
He's with the Steelers. I don't know if I think he's on the Steelers practice squad. Oh, he's on practice squad IR. They might have to go get a safety.
Yeah, and now with Roby up in the air, like they just need defensive backs. They need some bodies. They don't have them.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll know more. I mean, we won't get an injury report till Wednesday. We really won't know anything.
Yeah.
Unless they leak it to Schefter, but we'll see. Whatever. I mean, maybe they'll get. I mean, it's hard. It's gonna be hard for Reed. I mean, his ribs were injured enough to take him out of the game. It's gonna be hard to have him Sunday.
Yeah, he was down. He would look like he was in some real pain.
Yeah, he did. There was a penalty on it, but the Jets get 15 yards and they knock one of your best defensive players out of the game.
Yeah,
maybe
Lazard will get a FedEx in his locker this week, I'm sure.
He'll get fined for that, but the Eagles, it won't help the Eagles. I think guys should get ejected when they do stuff like that, but the league doesn't eject anyone.
I disagree with that. I don't think there was ill intent. I think he was trying to make a block, and it's a legal play, but
I don't know. I think if you injure someone, knock them out of the game, and get a penalty for it,
no,
kick him out of the game.
You can't do that.
I'm doing it.
That's
anyway.
crazy.
Anyway, they're definitely. It's definitely. And we'll talk to Desai on Tuesday morning. Maybe we'll learn some more. He's not going to tell us extent of any injuries, but maybe get some sense of what the plan is moving forward. And
they did get a too many men penalty. I think it was Barnett running off late. You're mixing and matching so much. Like that's one of the pitfalls of that.
Well, he's never played safety before.
What'd you make of post-game comments? I don't know what you were able to hear, what y'all took on post-game, but did you hear some Sirianni?
Yeah, we ran all of it.
Okay, he looked a little dejected.
The one thing that really stuck out to me, tell me what you thought, was he said he didn't speak to the team. He let them handle it. That's unusual. Doesn't shock me for him. It's kind of his. I mean, he's such a player's coach. He puts a lot of trust in them, and I guess he just felt like this was a good time to let them just try to sort it out, let the leader speak. But it's kind of weird that he wouldn't. I mean, maybe he said something. I mean, he said he didn't.
I found that notable, and we talked to a few players about it. Some of the guys you would expect to speak up, Jalen Hurts being one of them. I think there's some logic in that, because the coaching wasn't good in this game. But as AJ Brown said, like ultimately they're the ones on the field, they're the ones who have to make it happen. Right. I have no problem with that, and you've worked so hard to build this culture where you have strong leadership. So what's the point of doing that if you can't let those guys on occasion?
Yeah, I got no
Take the
problem with
reins.
it. No problem with it at all. I mean, look, his record, his track record is really good, this loss notwithstanding, and I think he has a really, really good feel, really good sense for what his team needs at different times. Sometimes it's him getting up there and being a hard ass. Sometimes it's him just staying out of the way and letting the veterans kind of handle it, and that's what he did.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, like, dad's not going to yell at you because dad already knows that you screwed up,
Right.
right? It's like, what's the point of piling on? You figure it out. Um, uh, Jalen, did you guys listen to some of Jalen after?
Listen, we played all of Jalen.
All of Jalen. Okay, so he kept saying, it's about how we respond. It's about how we respond. And I asked him, like, why he's so confident that they'll respond the way he expects them to. Um, and he just talked about how it can build character, and they can turn a negative into a positive, which, it. I guess that's true. It's tough to hear after a game like that.
Yeah, I mean, he was accountable for his own mistakes.
Yeah, and that
Mainly,
look, that means something, not just like to us bozos, but it means something to the team that he's raising his hand publicly and
sure.
admitting his mistake, because we've seen quarterbacks not do that here.
Who are you thinking of? Who are you talking about? Fine line guy in Indy. You're right. I think it's one of the reasons his teammates, I don't want to say stop believing in him, but there was definitely a disconnect because he was not accountable. I remember talking about that with you walking down to the NovaCare really early in Carson's career here, just how
Rookie year.
was it that early?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 16. Just how I don't want to get too far off topic, but
Well, no, I think it's a fair point though. It was always, we screwed up. We didn't
yeah,
do our job. It was
right.
never just, hey, I screwed up. I have to be better. And Jalen's willing to do that. Now, I'm ultimately like that alone doesn't fix the problem, but I think it's an important step. And
I
even
mean,
like, Devontae Smith, very personable, personally accountable. Just you said, I can't drop the ball. I just got to make those catches.
somebody asked him, I don't remember who, if you can grow from this loss. And he said, "No, I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to learn anything. I just got to catch the ball."
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff's all good. Look, these guys, we've seen Devontae make so many plays. We've seen Jalen have so many good games. I mean, you can count on one hand the number, and I throw out 2020, but since he became the starter for good, you can count on one hand the number of really bad games he's had. When they're bad, they're really bad.
Yeah.
The Giants game, there's been a couple like that, but
Although I didn't think this one was like altogether awful.
I thought it was pretty. It's just that third interception makes it.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
It's like a final in a class where it counts as like 50% of your grade and you flunk it.
it's good. It sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Not quite.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how he responds and how this team responds, how this coaching staff responds, because they rarely lose 2 games in a row. I think the last time Jalen lost 2 games in a row was to get to 2-5 in 21, I think, without looking it up. And so they know how to bounce back. They know how to deal with this kind of stuff. And they're still a really good team. I mean, I think they got great talent. They got great leadership. They've got great coaching. We've seen it. They do have a lot of changes on the coaching staff. And I think some of what we're seeing, not just the coordinators, but although you can't say anything negative about DK. I mean, the secondary, they've kept it going at a high level with duct tape. But Alex Tanney's the new quarterbacks coach. Jalen's got a lot to get used to. And when I think about it, it might have been naive maybe to expect him to just start playing at that Super Bowl level from the jump this year. I didn't expect, the ups and downs, because like the last 2 games, he was playing better, played pretty well. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how he bounces back.
Yeah, tough
Because
test.
they score a lot of points now. They're going to need him to put up. They might need him to put up, at least 30.
That's the thing. It's like you can't expect the defense to hold the Dolphins to 20 points. It doesn't happen. Even today, like I looked up, the Carolina was up 14-0, and then you turn around and the Dolphins have put up 42? Yeah,
I think it was
42-21 final.
42-21. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's without A-Chain or A-Chin, is it now? A-Chin?
A-Chan.
A-Chan. I haven't looked at that game. I assume Raheem Mostert had a big game. Oh my goodness. He had $115 and 2 touchdowns. He's such a big play machine. 3 catches and a touchdown. Tyreek was 6 for 163. Waddle was 7 for 51. I mean, and Tua, three touchdowns, no picks. I mean, you're going to see, I think, the best 2 combinations, 1-2 of wide receivers in the league Sunday night. Yeah, it's an interesting game.
We'll have a lot of time to break that one down.
It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. You got anything else before we wrap this one up?
What do we usually do when the Eagles lose? What do we call it? Dave's
Dave's Positivity Corner. It's been so long. This team doesn't lose.
Yeah,
Holy
they don't
cow.
lose a lot of games. But I had a couple guys I wanted to throw in there for Dave's Positivity Corner.
Sure. Holy cow. This team doesn't lose. We're still not used to it.
I know. I forgot what it was called. Hassan Reddick now 5.5 sacks in 3 games without that cast on his left hand I mean, that one, I thought it kind of was going to be the game when he had that 12-yard sack. Yeah. They had 1st and goal on the 8, I think, or 2nd and goal on the 8, and gave him a 3rd and 20. He's got a field goal. I'll
throw Josh Sweat in that mix too, because he had that big sack as well.
Yeah. But I mean, Reddick the last 3 games, he's really looked like, so he's only 4.5 sacks away from being the first Eagle since Trent Cole with back-to-back 10-sack seasons. Wow. And only the 2nd since William Fuller in 95 and 96. So playing at a really high level. And obviously AJ, we mentioned him, but I don't know if I've seen a receiver play at this level for this many weeks in a row. Well, I mean, I got a list, only 9 guys since 1970, and the dang span finder only goes back to 1970. I have a talk with Katie about that over at StatHead, but he's the first with 125 yards in 4 straight games since ODB in 2014, Calvin Johnson in 2012, Josh Gordon did it, Andre Johnson did it. These are 4 in a row.
You mean OBJ?
Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. ODB is old dirty bastard.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping you notice that.
Okay.
Andre Rison, James Lofton, a 1980 former Eagle. So, I mean, it's very rare to have a player. These aren't just 100-yard games. These are 125-yard games, 4 in a row. The most yards in a 4-game span by any Eagle ever. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing is special. And if he would have caught that deep ball, we're talking about a crazy game.
Yeah, I'd have to see if he had any catches later on that drive, but I mean, that's the expectation now is, he's going to catch 7, 8, 9 balls for 125 yards. At the same time, Devontae's having a little rough patch here. Yeah. And he had that terrible drop. Well, I know it's the Positivity Corner, but it's just nobody near him. You just don't see that.
Uncharacteristic for him. Yeah.
And, he caught, what do you have, 5 for 40, 5 for 44 or something. 5 for 44. He hasn't been awful, but not playing up to last year's standard.
Yep. Any more positivity you wanted to throw out? I thought Bradbury played well.
Bradbury played well. But no, I think we cut, the linebackers were fine. I do have another one. I thought Jordan Davis played pretty well.
I agree with that.
What did he have? Half a sack, maybe?
He got the half with Reddick.
I might have given him that whole sack.
No, Reddick got in there first.
No, I might have given Reddick the whole sack.
Oh, okay.
But I thought Jordan Davis played really well. Jordan Davis had half a sack. He had 3. He had a quarterback hit, 3 tackles. I just thought he was active, and I don't think he played well in LA last week. So I thought it wasn't awful, but he's been good. He's already got more sacks than he didn't have any last year. So Yeah, he was solid.
Yeah. I have one more thing for Positivity Corner. Frisbee Dogs at halftime.
Really?
Good show. Good show.
Oh, man. Did you get any video?
I tweeted one video.
Oh, good. I'll check it out. I know you love your Frisbee dogs.
Yeah. Best show of the night.
Good
All
stuff.
right, let's wrap this up. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please do us a favor. Rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that like button and subscribe there as well. Any final words, Rube?
No, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Sounds good. All right. Take care, everyone. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. For Rube, I'm Dave. We'll talk to you soon.